One person who believed in the power of youth to change the world was Nelson Mandela. He spent more than 2 decades in prison for fighting against the white-dominated system of power in South Africa called apartheid. Shortly after his release, Mandela traveled to Washington, D.C., where he spoke before a joint session of Congress, asking for America's support in the fight to end racial injustice and tyranny.
It would have been immoral to keep quiet while a racist tyranny sought to reduce an entire people into a status worse than that of the beasts of the forest.
4 years after that speech, Nelson Mandela became the first democratically elected president of South Africa. He died in 2013. This year, he would have turned 100. To honor his centennial, his grandson, Kwaku Mandela, has launched an initiative called 100 Conversations to inspire young people to take on Mandela's legacy of equality, leadership, and justice. I joined Kwaku Mandela, along with Academy Award-winning actress Charlize Theron, at the Geffen Playhouse in Los Angeles for the first conversation. Tell me a little bit about how Nelson Mandela's legacy has personally affected each of you. And Charlize, why don't you start, and then we'll talk about your perspective on your grandfather.
There's something, I always say that Nelson Mandela to me is the ultimate humanist. You know, there is something about his capability in not having any resentment for all the wrongs that were done to him for so many years, growing up in a country with so much turmoil and oppression. To have somebody kind of step out of that mud and be as insightful and inspiring as he was, and unifying.
I only got to meet my grandfather when I was 4.5 years old, and I'd heard about him for a number of years, but it was only when we went to Victor Verster and he was still under house arrest. And I remember walking into this house and just feeling this kind of warmth as this old man came and said, are these my grandkids? And he just had this way of kind of making you feel like you were the only person in the room. And he was extremely humble.
What's your goal with the 100 Conversations? You mentioned a little bit about it, but it's focused only on young people?
Its focus is only on young people. And I think that's because I've come to realize, traveling around the world, that a lot of young people know the name Nelson Mandela, but don't necessarily know what he represents and stands for. And so for me, it was really important to find a platform where, I could encourage them to look at my grandfather's legacy and then realize the impact that they can have to take that out into the world.
You know, he said, young people, when they're giving the capability, and when they're aroused, will bring down the towers of oppression and raise the banners of freedom. And he had a great capacity to respect and listen to the youth, and I think it was because he knew the importance of their leadership, not only just in South Africa, but to the world.
How do you motivate someone young to become engaged, especially at a time when I think there's a ton of disillusionment about politics, about politicians, about an ability to affect real change?
They need to feel inspired to do something, and I think for far too long, politics hasn't really been able to do that. And I think, again, we're at this kind of crossroads where we're seeing hate kind of flare itself up again. I think we're looking for that new leadership to kind of pick up this mantle, and I strongly believe it's going to come from the youth.
You've been very open, Charlize, about your efforts for equal pay, making headlines when you asked for that. You've talked a lot about embracing feminism at a time when it's almost like it's a dirty word. Are you surprised at how that sort of request for basic fairness is headline making?
I am in a position of I am so incredibly grateful to be in this position where I could put my foot down and say, I want equal pay to my male co-star, who I had built another movie with. What was interesting about that event was that I had a studio that literally said, all right, And I realized, I was like, oh, like, we just need to say this. Like, we actually just need to, like, not be so polite about it and just, like, say what we want, knowing that that is not the case for the majority of women who are working in my industry. And I think, hopefully, we're encouraging an environment in workplaces where this is not isolated cases anymore, but where we're changing just how people go about business. I don't even know if I answered your question.
You did. You very much answered the question.
But today I'm proud to say that I am a f***ing feminist.